Hey lads, welcome back. Shoes here, This Irish Life, part two of episode 7. We left on a cliffhanger there the last day, just discovering a bit more about the landscape, really hitting home at the amount of underground masonry. And we're looking at abbeys and castles, canals, star forts, maps, new and old. What an exciting journey. So I'm going to jump right back in. This is where we ended up in the last episode, literally. I'm going to pull us out and we are going to continue on our journey, and we're going to continue to look at these settlements like this over here, like here now, right? So this town here beside where we were in the last episode, the Hill of Down. So here's a little town, little village. This is Kinnegad. So you had your gigantic well, which powered and sorted out all the local area. So what happened was the invading power, or whoever did it, they dropped a load of muck into these. We hear it in the stories of the Tuatha De Danann versus the Fomorians, that they dropped a load of mud into the well and stop the Tuatha De Danann from being able to revive their dead, maybe stop everyone. So basically, did they figure out that we could revive the dead over here in this canal world? We had super healing, and the bad guys couldn't win. And then they figured out that in order to win, they needed to take out all of the canals. Like, look, it's the whole landscape. It's all canals, like everywhere, all over the world. The gravity of it is gigantic, with star fortresses, gigantic wells is what we're calling them now. Well, I'm calling them wells now anyway. Holy wells, like we're going to get the holy well going there. And Moy Valley Hotel and Golf Resort, Starfort Resort, Star Resort, 5-star resort. There you go, 5-star. They were probably the best. You could probably stay in a 5-star, 4-star, and the slaves probably stayed in 3-star, 2-star, 1-star. Um, mm. So the Holy Wells of Ireland, about 60 years ago, a survey claimed that there was as many as 3,000 holy wells in Ireland, more than any other country in the world. Where once a pagan sacrifice may have taken place, a bride might look good in waters for good luck. A cripple might bathe in them and be healed. So with that in mind, we need to think, right, so these wells were amazing. They could heal, they could revive the dead in these wells, according to the myths and legends. And as such, they did revive the dead. And maybe like the cathedrals and the churches, they were places of healing at the time. And I'm just going to have to find my places here and get out of this. That the churches and the cathedrals, they were places of healing, and that's why people came to them afterwards. Whether there was like a cult worship of Mary going on at the time and Jesus, well, there's certainly a strong possibility that there was a cult worship of a mother, a mother goddess. So there's no doubt about that. And was that the Virgin Mary? Was she the goddess Danu? I don't know. But all of these holy wells, like, are these forts the wells, and that they just dumped the dirt into all the wells? Um, and who built the wells? Was it these guys? Are these the guys who built the wells originally? We've called them the Fir Bolg. We've potentially called them the Fomorians. They're potentially also the Tuatha De Danann. They're potentially the children of Nemed, the Nemedians. And these are the Normans. These are the Normans. This is a picture drawn in 1882. And these are the Normans, and they're also parallel with Vikings. Oftentimes, they were the race of people that first really conquered Ireland and built the main big Masonic structures there. We have some information coming up about when the Normans came to Ireland. It was like in England, they said they came in 1066. But I'm thinking the Normans are the original people. The Normans are the Firbolg. The Normans are the Nemedians, and they are the builders of the canal systems. And that is the Normans. They had some serious tech that we don't really know about, fancy stuff. They had swords and like chain mail, you know, what they were doing with the churches and the cathedrals that interacted with their garments, maybe. Like the world anyway that was around is totally different. There was no mud. They put these guys, they look a bit, who are these lads here now? Now that's an interesting one. So, like, you just couldn't imagine these guys existing in a canal civilization. Was there areas that wasn't fully canaled? I wonder. It seems not. Maybe the sea. Look at these chaps here. So these are the Normans, and the Normans came to Ireland in the 1100s, as far as I know. And we're going to see if they're the Firbolgs. So the Normans were an ethnic group that arose from contact between Norse Viking settlers in France, named Normandy after them, and indigenous Franks and Gallo-Romans. So they just decided that the Norse people became a people in the 1100s by this mass merging of Franks and Vikings, and that created the Normans. Or maybe the Franks and the Viking people were already merged and they were already called the Normans. How about that one? The settlements in France followed a series of raids on the French coast, mainly in Denmark. So France was their base. They had, so that's where they're known for, the region of Normandy. But as we'll see on that map that I showed you earlier on, there is actually I'm going to bring it there now before I forget. Where is it now? We go back to that map a moment. This is worth it, trust me. So what were we looking for? Oh yes, down here. So down here, so the Normans apparently came from France. But we see on this map that the map says Anglia, Scotia, Francae, et Hiberniae Regi. So that to me says England, including Wales, the land, Scotland, France, and Ireland. So what that tells me is that this region was all under the power of the Normans. And from 1066, for example, when the Norman invasion of England apparently happened, that's probably when the Normans lost England, you know? And what was going on at the time was this mythical land. Like the Normans were living in the land of the flying horses and the massive, weird looking fishes, unicorns, angels. This was the land of the Normans, the land of the Firbolg, the land of the Fomorians, the land of the canals, the land of the wells, the land of the forts, the land of the cathedrals. Like, look at the cathedrals here. Look, boom, massive, massive, massive. Smaller, 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 smaller. So each of these providing like a way station capability, and each one providing some sort of a function. Like, so I mean, that's unreal. I mean, these guys, like the Empire of Ross, could have been the Norman Empire, essentially. Like, they could have extended all across Europe. Like they make out, like they talk about the Romans there in that one. What was that? Oh yeah, I was on this. They talk about the Romans. Oh, it can be so pernickety. Where is the arrow? The Normans. So they talk about the Romans as if they're invaders and the Franks and that they're all enemies, but no, maybe there was one invader and there was the Normans, and the Normans got invaded. The Normans were the Firbolg, they were the Tuatha Danann, they were the elves, they were the Nemedians, they were the fairies. They were this race of people that lived here for a while in harmony in the massive canal civilization. And then it all fell apart fairly recently, which is why it's so interesting to consider, because this didn't happen that long ago. Once again, remember the sharpness of the lines on the buildings. The buildings are not that old, they're not that old. There's a very good chance that maybe all this carry on only started. Maybe the canal city's only been around for a couple of 100 years. Maybe they had 500 years of happiness, but it ended terribly. Maybe it was from the year 1000 to the year 1500. And then you had the cataclysm, and then the year 1600 up until now has been the cleanup. So maybe it's a short period of time. I don't know how long it would take you to make all those canals. But there could have been several ages as well. Maybe there's not just one cataclysm either, which I also recognise. It doesn't have to be black and white. There's many options, possibly many cataclysms, possibly localised warfare, localised events. So I know that's possible too. So they came from Norway and Sweden as well. So this is like covering the whole of Europe, essentially, saying that all of these people, Northern Europeans, are Normans, Norsemen, Northern men, which is where it comes from as well. So an ethnic Norman was produced between the Romans, who were also Normans. Like if you change that around, Norman, like Roman and Norman. The Romans were the Normans as well, for God's sake. So the Romans are also the Normans, and the Romans are all the gods, the children of Nemed. So we'll have to deep dive into Nemed at some stage. The people of Nemed. Are they the canal builders? Are they the canal builders? So the Normans had a big part in Ireland, they'll say arrival 1167. So by the 12th century, Ireland was divided into a number of over-kingdoms, their rulers contending for the title of King of Ireland and for control of the whole island. So what they're saying here is that in this section of history, which they say is 1100, they say that Ireland was no longer under the power of the Firbolg and the Tuatha Danann and the Fomorians. Now the island of Ireland was a small number of kingdoms, which is governed by kings, and it's very backwards, and there's no magic anymore, and there's no great battle. The battles take place, big battles take place, but they're different kind of battles. And its setting is very much closer to the now in terms of its length away from our current time frame. So what they say is that MacLachlan, nice, kings of the north ruled the west and the centre. So the west and the centre, which is, so MacLachlan, they were over in Mayo and the middle as well, so Offaly. So they had all over to the middle, so over to Lough Key. So MacLachlan had all this here, so over to the middle. So this was probably all theirs down to here. These were probably the dividing forts, and then these are all super duper covered here. Like they really are heavily covered here. Did they just burst more? Maybe that's it. I really do think they burst. Anyway, so the Normans were the canal builders and the well makers, let's say, okay? But this talks about them as if it's in a very backward medieval time. But in our minds, we're taking medieval time and we're saying, right, medieval time was actually pre-flood time. What was going on in the magic of the world. And medieval time was also filled with magic as well. Like magic wasn't gone at this stage of history. So, but they just played it, they just spun it in a different way. It's like King Arthur, the stories of King Arthur include the stories of the Morrigan, or Morrigan, I think she was his seer. But in the King Arthur stories, they are meant to be like medieval stories. So we're in medieval times here. It's Norman times. That's where we're at. So now we're going to bring the Normans back to the canal builders. We're going to say that the Normans are possibly the Fir Bolg. And the reasons that we're going to say that they're possibly the Fir Bolg, I've spoken about it already, but it relates to this here, de Clare, Richard de Clare. It relates to the name de Hubert. That's like Delbarth, Prince of Dubert, the same as Dalebath. Where's Dalebath? Like Slánna Macdella, he was the Fomorian, he was the Fir Bolg king, the first one, the one to settle the land and clear the forest around Brunabona. He was the original well. He created the first forts, we'd say. Macdella, so de la Corsi. It's a Norse name. Slánna Macdella. And then, not to be forgetting, where is that? Where is the Delbath one? Get that in. Get that in there. This is important. So that's why. So we're equating Fir Bolg. Oh yeah, that's it. So we're equating Fir Bolg to de la or de va in terms of etymology. And here we've got Delbath, who was the original father of all the Tuatha Dé Dananns that we spoke about, Elaha and the Morrigan. Delbath, Delba, the same as Dela, which we are seeing de Levitt, now called Levitt, de Burgh, de Lacy, de Browse. So all of these de, they're all like all of the Fomorians, all of the original Fir Bolgs were de la. That was their name. All of the original brothers. So the stories of them, like they all ended up actually murdering each other. Each of those brothers, well, they overthrew each other, and they didn't get on. So there was definitely the possibility that there was heavy infighting, and that kind of mirrors the story of when American came with the Milesians. So essentially, the takeover again, St. Patrick, just another form, the invaders. But there's a story that we'll talk about where the invaders come called the Milesians. We equate them to the Celts, and they were the ones who overthrew the Tuatha Dé Danann. So the story goes that the Milesians arrived, and that Eru and Banba and Fowler all said that they would give their name, that they would give them good fortune if they gave their name to Ireland. And apparently they betrayed their husbands. We spoke about that in an earlier episode. So they betrayed their three husbands, McGrane and McKecht and something or other. But that kind of mirrors the stories of the fighting between the Fir Bolgs, who overthrew each other, and they were the first kings of Tara, but they were always fighting, and they were different factions of Fir Bolg. There was different ones. There was the Fir Downin, there was the Fir Galone, and there was the Fir Bolg. So the Fir Downin, the Fir Galone, and the Fir Bolg, which maybe we'll get into again. We'll get into that in the etymology or the breakdown of the race in that episode. But what I'm saying is that I think that the Fir Bolg and the Fomorians and the Tuatha Dé Danann, they're all the same people. Anyone who was invaded in Ireland is the same people. And they were all fighting with each other. They had a couple of fights. But I think that the fights that are spoken about in the history, where they say that the Tuatha Dé Danann were fighting against the Fomorians, I think that it was less likely the case that that was the battle where they came together against the invader, but the invader was the one who dropped. Like they were kind of half fighting, I'd say, and then the invader came in and blew the whole lot. Or maybe the invader was here the whole time. Anyway, whoever the invader was, Lordship of Ireland. So we're talking 1100s to 1300s, and St. Patrick is meant to come then in kind of 1400, 1500. Or sorry, so we're saying that's I 171, I 300. We're going to work with that. So therefore, we're saying that St. Patrick came in well, he's actually told to be coming like the year 5 AD, 5 after Christ. So that is essentially I 5 as well. So St. Patrick comes soon after, and the Norman kingdom is deposed, and the new system of what is called Catholic and this whole worship culture. So what they did was they took the original energy of the civilization, and they then they directed it into worship and idol worship. And here we've got like towers like this sitting all over the countryside. Once again, like the lines are sharp, you know. Like that's not an old building. That's not 1,000 years old. Do you know? A building that's 1,000 years old is not going to have lines that are that sharp. I'm definitely beginning to think the flood was just the wells blowing as well. There wasn't like rain, and there was no act of God. Whatever happened was the wells blew for some reason, unless someone did it on purpose or not, and it flooded the place. The wells did blow, the waters from the deep came up and they flooded the whole place. So the kings of Maida still ruled, but the kingdom was frequently partitioned by more powerful kingdoms all around it. So there was multiple kingdoms all around this area, as we know, and they were the different star fortifications. They were the different little villages, and they were probably all mining villages, and they had their fortification close by, and life went on, I'd imagine, for the Normans. Godbert de Roche, it's all de, you know. So this one here, D-E-H, de Hubert, Prince of de Hubert. So MacMurrough fled to Bristol and then to Normandy. He sought and obtained permission from King Henry. So it was King Henry. So had England been taken over earlier on in 1066? Battle of Hastings. That's when England was invaded, and then Ireland, it was 1156 by the time they got here, losing the protection of a Murtoch. So Murtoch MacLachlan was the King of Ireland at the time. Dermot MacMurrough was exiled by a confederation under a new king of Rory y Conchor. So there's a rich tale in there containing all sorts of characters. But this could have been what was going on. Let's say now, so we've got the Fir Bolg, the story of the different Fir Bolgs all overthrowing each other. So you had Sláine, and then I think he stepped down, and then one brother killed another brother, and he became the High King of Ireland. So you've got this type of scenario going on. But maybe that was the Norman. Maybe this was all going on. Like this is paralleling all the tales. So the battles of Normandy are the battles of Moyturrid and the battles of Tara. And there's the Battle of Kinsale, it's the Battle of Cromwell, it's St. Patrick. The battles are all the same. And the last couple of 100 years have only actually been digging rubbish out of the mud. There's been nothing happening apart from the Roman Catholic Church enforcing themselves on the survivors of the flood, essentially. That's all that's been happening as far as I can see. So I am thinking that like any stories that we have of history are pre-flood and should probably be viewed with the lens of the canal civilization and the star civilization. And then after that, I just can't see Oliver Cromwell needing that much firepower coming into Ireland in 1600, 1700. Like it would have been devastated. I think it was nearly like the case of the way they talk about what happened in Ireland. They just came in and rounded up what was left, or there was obviously survivors in the country, and they basically took control immediately. And there was no uprising. There was no battles required. It was all the battles were done. Everything was done by 1500, I think. And then maybe through 1500, maybe it was these times were happening through then, the Reformation, the Reformation, and then 1600, they just literally started imposing. They made up that they took over the world in 1600. They made up that the British Empire took it over, and they said that they went out and conquered everywhere in 1600. You have it in America in the early 1600s. You've got it in Ireland. Um, I'm sure it's in many other places as well. So this is the tale we've got. So I think that like in 1600, they were already in control. They literally, place was done. It was covered in mud. All the wells had exploded. All the cathedrals, all the abbeys, they were done. But there seems to have been a faction of people that were protected during it. There were some places that weren't destroyed, whether by design or by accident. So within the ranks of the Normans, there must be a traitor in order for the invader to. There must be somebody who gave allegiance to the invaders. Maybe with good cause. Maybe that maybe we didn't want any more mud on us. It had to stop. So maybe that's what happened. So they invaded at Banno Bay in 1169. Where's Banno Bay, I wonder? Banno Bay. Never easy, is it? Banno Bay. So this is what the Fir Bolg, we'll say, came to Ireland, unchallenged. And they started up Banno Bay in County Wexford. So up the Slaney, like Slana, is Banno Bay on the River Slaney? Because if it is, what river is it? Let's have a look. Where's the River Slaney? Let's just have a look at the River Slaney. The River Slaney is in County Wicklow. So it says he came in through Wexford, the River Slaney. It's the River Slaney in Banno Bay, is it? Well, we can't check it now, and I think that where's Banno Bay? We'll just try and get one more Banno Bay. Banno Bay. And we'll have a look at that. And we will find out if it's the River Slaney. I have a strong suspicion that it is. But that mirrors the story of Slana. We must favourite Banno Bay, in fact. Save favourites. And Tintern Abbey, there's like a poem about Tintern Abbey. Destroyed, of course. So boom, destroyed. All of this was probably forted under the ground there. Oh, it just blows your mind. I won't be able to go for a walk anymore without like up here. It's coming through like the wells here. So the wells, so these here, so the Wicklow Mountains would essentially be massive fortifications as well, which is also wild to speculate. I can't find where the River Slaney is off the top of my head. I am going to do a slight little investigation here just off the bat because I'm interested to know if it is. And the reason is that you might remember that the Fir Bolg arrived up the River Slaney. Is this the river? Oh, that's the Corrock River and the River Owen Duff. Is that the river that comes out there? So close enough. So it's Wexford anyway. Is this Waterford or Wexford? This is Wexford. So it is Wexford. And as I said, the reason why is that we'll see that Sláine, you can see he arrived. I keep forgetting. Don't do things fast. Came ashore at Wexford Harbour at the mouth of the River Slaney. So the River Slaney is the Canal Slaney, Sláine. And he took Brú na Bóinne and he cleared it. So what was the land like when he arrived is the question. So like, is Sláine the builder? Is he are they the builders, the builders of the civilization? So his wife, so his portion, so he was the leader of the Gallone. So the Gallone, the Gaels, the Gallone Firbolg, also called potentially the Normans from the Boyne Valley and Leinster, the Leinster Normans. They were also potentially the Tuatha Danann as well, because Taltu, Firbolg, raised Luglavada in Teltown. And then we've also got Rudrig. He's going to pop up as a Norman as well. And I think Uchud is a Norman too. So, like, our story could center around these characters. Sláine and his four brothers were descended from one of the sons of Nemed. So, one of the sons of Nemed. So, let's say Dalebath was that son of Nemed, and he was the progenitor of all of these guys. And so the Nemedians were. I haven't got anything on the Nemedians right now. The Nemedians were the Normans. Did I include that in here? I wonder. Anyway, we shall carry on. So I'm fairly confident that after reviewing this, that the Normans did an awful lot of the building in here. And I think that the tales that are told and over retold are the same story over and over again. The more I look at this, I just see that like the battles mirror each other, the people mirror each other, and the names mirror each other. So it's very much like there was a civilization here, a canal civilization. They may have got into a bit of bother with each other. They may have had some infighting for whatever reason. They may have had some battles. They may not have had some battles. They may have ended up just battling with the invader. Where the invader came from, I don't know. Maybe the invader was the Fomorians. Maybe the Fomorians did come from the sea. That's what they say. Like, I suppose if you were like what the Fomorians were, then again they were linked to the Firbolg in marriage as well, early day, or to the Tuatha Dé Danann in marriage early days. So were the Firbolg the Tuatha Dé Danann? Or were the Fomorians the Tuatha Dé Danann? Like, that would be an even more of a twist to say that the Fomorians, because they were actually the Tuatha Dé Danann, because they're all half Fomorian. All the Tuatha Dé Danann are half Fomorian because their father, all of the Tuatha Dé Danann gods, are of the father of Dalebath, who is a Fomorian, with his Tuatha Dé Danann bride called Ernmas. So was there an invader from the sea that came in that was actually exacting bounty, and these battles were fought against this external invader from the sea? Maybe the people of the sea, maybe the water civilization was using all this water, the Phoenicians, and they were having a great time with all the canals, and then the water people who own the water from under the ground in the water world, if there exists such a place, maybe they came in then and said, hey lads, if you want the water, there's a price to pay. And this is the price. And the story went along. Maybe that they encroached on the water world and they stole a load of water. And then maybe the water world people decided that we're going to increase the pressure of the water and we're going to blow all their wells together at the one time. and cause a gigantic flood all over the place. And that'll teach them. That'll teach them all. Ha 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 ha. Maybe that's the way it went. Um, that's there is stories of the sea peoples causing the demise. So, like, have you got the water people and then the people from the sea? So the Phoenicians lived on the land and they used the water to power their civilization, their magical civilization. And then the people from the sea came and they taxed the people on the land and said that the water wasn't free and you had to pay for it. And then came stress and strain and tensions between those two groups. So yeah, pretty wild. So we're going to head down here. And we're going to remember Carberry. So we were over here a minute ago. We got lost. How are we doing for time? Man, time just disappears. I hope you're enjoying it, by the way. I hope you're enjoying this series. I kind of just get straight into it and don't be wasting anyone's time and get to the meat and potatoes of the matter. But I hope you're enjoying it, and really, I'm enjoying it. And we're just going to carry on here. So Carberry is a place of the Well of Segis, okay? So the Well of Segis was in Carberry, and that is where the River Boyne, got its name and its source. So the source of the Boyne was apparently the Well of Segis in Carberry, and Carberry looks a bit like this. Okay, so Carberry's here. This is the Well of Segis. This is where Boann flushed the well. So maybe, like, was it, like, were they the traitors? Was it Eru the traitor? Were they the traitors? You know, those triple goddesses. Did they betray the land? Did they allow the locks to be broken? Like, they were the goddesses. They were the oldest of the goddesses as well. You know, they were the original daughters of Ernmas. So they were high, high, high up, and they were said to be the queens during the time of the Milesian invasion, as I said earlier, and they gave their allegiance. They sided up with the invaders, apparently. But anyway, Boanna, who was also very closely paralleling one of these mother goddesses, because Boann is she is also the daughter of Delbath. So she is a sister to the Dagda, who she had the affair with. So the Dagda is married to the Morrigan, or Morrigan, who is Eru, or Bab, or Fowla, the triple goddess. He had an affair with Boann, and Boann was the husband of Nuada, who was the leader of the Tuatha Dé Danann at the time, who lost his arm in the first battle. He lost his arm in the last battle. But this is where their story, the story of Boann, ended with her being drowned after the Well of Segis explodes because she asked for wisdom. But this is what is at Carberry Castle. So we'll have a read. This is some person recounting their tale. I've driven by Carberry Castle on many occasions in the past, wishing the weather was kinder. Today appeared just perfect. Carberry Hill, aka Fairy Hill, is steeped in Irish history from a Bronze Age right through to the 1798 rebellion. Located on the hill are two barrows dating to the Bronze Age, and just behind to the mansion seen above is a Norman moat, Norman canal, reputed to have been constructed by Myler Fitzhenry, who was granted the area by Strongbow. So Strongbow was in charge of this area. Strongbow, he could have been like Shreng, the Firbolg champion. Sounds kind of like him as well. There's also a mansion house and a church and a graveyard and a mausoleum. So there's a massive underground here. This is up on a hill, I presume, and there's probably a big star fort underneath it. It would make sense that that's the case. It does also say here 1798 rebellion. So what we need to look here as well is that, like, even this place has history right up until the present day. So, like, there's people who still know what's under here. The 1798 rebellion, it was an important place, you know. I'd say those star forts actually in Kinsale, from that little map I showed, now that I think of it, they're probably just buried, like a couple of little hills. They're probably all buried. I'm going to find them when I do Cork. Sure, they're all there. The whole flipping place is canalled. It's ridiculous. I can't believe it. The land was acquired by de Birminghams, a Norman family in the 14th century, a Fir family who may have built the oldest part of the existing castle. Blah, blah, blah. And then 1562, so the castle was taken from the native Irish in the 16th century. So the lineage of Irish goes in the 16th century, and then it becomes part of the invader aristocracy. In the graveyard to the south, so there's a graveyard. So a graveyard is usually related to the top of a star by the looks of it. So a graveyard and a church is usually related to a star, and we're going to relate them to healing, and we're going to relate them to sound. We're going to relate them to powerful buildings in the Star Canal civilization. So there's a graveyard on top, which is destroyed and full of dirt, obviously, and a 19th century mausoleum. Before I could make it to the interior, I was caught with a huge downpour. So here you've got the Well of Segis, the Fort of Segis. This is the church temple. This is the mausoleum that they say was built in the 19th century. Yeah, sure it was. It looks in worse case than buildings that are supposedly 1,000 years old. Once again, like, we're looking here, this resolution isn't great, but look at the sharpness. I suppose if they're saying that was 19th century, they could agree that. And look at these fellas here, like, once again, 6 to 12 feet plus of dirt. Is this the top of the well? Is like the top of the well had these features. The top of the well had these features. So, it's just great crack, isn't it? How are we doing for time? 42. Oh my God. How much more have I got on Carbery? I have another nice picture here, I think. So as you can see here, it's just totally covered. Carbery Castle is a castle situated in the townland of Carbery, on the borders of Kildare and Offaly. The area is dominated by the ruins of a great Tudor mansion set atop Carbery Hill, also known as Fairy Hill. And there it is, the big chimneys again. Check this out. Like, I see this in Ashford Castle now has these chimneys. Ashford Castle has these chimneys. I'm going to pull up Ashford Castle because I know that lots of castles have these chimneys. And it goes to show how new these buildings actually are. Ashford Castle. We're just going to fly. I don't know, we're going to go over there. It'd be grand if we stayed here. We are going to go over there. Okay, it's all right. I just wanted a picture, really, of the chimneys. So hopefully I can get a look from here. But this is, like, this castle here, this is a spot where very luxurious and lavish castle exists. Let's just see if we can find a picture of the chimneys quickly. Because I know these are the old school chimneys. There's also no chimneys here. Totally covered in mud as well, 6 to 12 feet. Can you see the chimneys there? No, they're not the ones I'm looking for. These chimneys are elaborate chimneys. They're really fancy. Maybe Ashford doesn't have it. Look, oh, here's a picture of the canal. So canal, 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 fortification, bridge connecting walkways. So you could walk around these. So you'd walk around all these areas. Must have been beautiful. Tis a shame now that I can't see those chimneys. Is that one of them there? I think that could be one of them. Like this is Ashford Castle. This is Cong. This is on the lake, Loch Corrib, Loch Monaghan MacLear's. This is probably where Monaghan MacLear lived. Epic. So I don't think that it has those chimneys, but Castletownbere, it does. Sorry for the bouncing around, but look, we're going to get it done, and this is a comparative tale at this stage now, I think. What has happened? We've definitely come to a pretty good conclusion in that regard. So now it's a comparative thing to try and figure out, was it all the same? What's in Castletown? There's a giant ruin here as well. Look at this church. This is Castletownbere. This is like that other church. Majestic. So this is in the south of Ireland. Where is that building? Can't remember the name of it. But it's quite famous. It was restored by some big hotel chain, or it was going to be turned into like a 5-star hotel like Ashton or like Ashford Castle. Sorry now for all of this scrolling. I'm just trying to find a photo of this massive house. Do you know what? I think it's going to have to be a manual effort, and it is going to be, I would say, it's here, is it? That's that hotel. We went out the road a small bit. Is it out here? This is it. I'm pretty sure. And like all of this area is absolutely filled with masonry. Lighthouse View Cottage. Where is that place? Ah, just so want to find it. Clear away. I'm going to have to abandon it. I am going to do one last tester because I think, I don't know, it's not Mallow, it's in, oh yes, Muckross. Muckross Abbey. So, if you've forgotten what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to see a picture that has these photos in it, or that has these chimneys in it. So this is Muckross Abbey. This is actually in Kerry, and there is a big house. So there's another abbey, another well, probably the top of a well. So Muckross. So this is actually where the story goes that the king took the top off the well. We'll go into it there at some stage. But look at these here. What was going on? There's a gigantic tree. I remember my mind was blown when I saw this gigantic tree in the middle of it. Very cool altogether. But look at the masonry here. Absolutely fantastic. Like, what was going on here with these things? Like, what were these about? What? There's no good reason. And they're saying that this, I don't even know what the date they're putting on this, but they're saying it's old anyway. Check this out here. Like this is abbeys. Abbeys look like this. Abbeys seem to sit on the top of star forts, and they seem to be the place, a place of healing, a place at the top of the well, place related to the well itself, a healing place. is it? And even look at this here. Look at the sharpness of the lines. It's just insane. Really is. Look at that tree. It's so cool. All right. I remember when I was here, my mind was blown. I was like, and there's a huge graveyard that has stuff just absolutely covered. Um, let's leave that buffer there a second. So we're at the top of the star here, we're saying. Historic site with courtyard. Do we not get any resolution on this? No resolution? Apparently not. Okay. And this is Muckross House. And this is the thing that I am pretty sure has the chimneys. And if it doesn't, we are going to know what it is. Where's that house? You've got the Abbey. Where was the house again? So this is all a massive stair here, we're saying. What time are we looking at? Gotten very distracted. 51. Killarney Boating, Muckross, Friars Glen, Country. I was fully sure that there was a big period. Is this it? This is it here, is it? I think that's it. Nope. Is that somebody's house? Lake Hotel. Stayed in the Lake Hotel. Lovely spot. Anyway, can't find it today by the looks of it. Apologies for the wandering around the bottom of Ireland. But not meant to be, I suppose. Like those chimneys, like they really might blow your mind. At Muckross House. Maybe it's just called Muckross House, is it? And I should have just put that in the whole time. Probably. Definitely. No, bet you 100%. Stop it. Oh yeah, here we go. You just stop messing around. So this is what you're looking at with the chimneys. So on that chimney in Carbery, here's a little end to the tail. So Carbery, we'll pop back before we're done, but these are the chimneys that you're looking at. This is the style of chimney and this is the style of house. I thought that Ashford Castle looked like this, but it doesn't. But this is epic. I remember seeing these chimneys going, this would blow your mind. But this is also top of the star, and these all come down terraced. More chimneys here. Like a lot of there's something about chimneys. You can tell everything about the buildings from the chimneys. You can tell an old from a new building. All the dirt everywhere. Check out the chimneys again. You know, layer of dirt here. It's in the ground. There's a basement in there. Obviously, you can see it. So look at the chimneys. So there are the chimneys. That's what I wanted to show you. And we're going to skip back to our picture of Carbery as we have it up. And we're going to zoom in. And as you can see, there is a fierce similarity with the chimneys. So this building here quite possibly used to look somewhat like this building here, you know, except for no, it doesn't. No, it looks like this. So see, you've got the other chimney here, just big ass chimneys popping out everywhere. So I really wanted to show that and just demonstrate, like this was what was on top of Carbery Hill. There's probably somebody living on top of the fort or living within the fort. And It's just pretty cool, isn't it? So that's Muckross, that's in Kerry, and I'm just going to zoom out just to give you an idea what this is. This is in Kerry. So look at all these forts here. Like, were they all covered? Did they all explode? Like, were these all wells that exploded down here and just flooded the landscape on a massive level? So that's where I am. That's where I was right there. That was a very cool drop in. I'm going to keep Muckross as the point. I think that the point of starting for the south of Ireland will certainly be Muckross, although you wouldn't know, it mightn't be. So we're going to go back in finally before we leave St. Shocklins. Story of Dunshaughlin in there at some stage. So we're going to finish our tale. We're going to drop into Carbery. What are we looking on time? 56. I'm going to drop down into Carbery, and we're going to see the landscape itself. Where is the castle? Carbery Bog. So this was their fortification. This was close to the top. Where's Carbery? Is this it? Where's Carbery Castle? Carbery Castle. Just want to find the castle. Thought I had it here. Golf club over there with more star patterns in it. So to get to Carbery Castle on the borders of Kildare and Offaly. So here we go. If you head into Carbery from the east, take a right turn at the Castle Inn. Drive straight up to the top of the road, past the church, park here and go through the gate. Watch out for cattle. So, is this it here? No. I have to find this. Carbery Parish, drive up past the church, stop at the gate, watch out for cattle. Is this it here? It's actually, they've taken it down altogether, have they? No, here it is. So we are going to certainly drop a pin here before we go. I think we're going to have to put this into a part 3 because it's just getting, there's going to have to be some sort of conclusion to this section. This is apparently gone now. And is the castle gone? I'll have to investigate that. That is crazy. Is this gone? Carbery Castle and Mott gone. And the graveyard, like, so Carbery Castle and graveyard apparently is gone, and it's sitting on top of the fort, or at this top side, and we can see here once again the trees do a great job. What we've got is the outline, and this is the fort here, and there was somebody living. This is what was it. It's all gone. So you've got the house here, and I presume the graveyard mausoleum there. So that's fairly interesting. But obviously, once again, this is a gigantic fort, top of the canal. All of this in Carbery's top, and this was the well. So the source of the Boyne was Carbery Bog. It probably continues to be, and I think with that we're going to have to leave it there. Nearly over the hour. Thanks for listening, lads. Enjoy and think good things, because it's just great to do it.